Hi guys, well today we are going to be taking a look at what ASUS has to offer in the G752. Now this notebook was released at the tail end of 2015 and yes, as you probably guessed, this notebook is geared towards gamers since it sits within the Republic of Gamers portfolio. And we've actually been taking a look at quite a few notebooks on the channel just recently with similar types of specifications. So this should be of interest to those of you guys who are perhaps out there on the hunt for a mobile gaming unit, which is going to give you kind of mid to high end type of performance results. So in and around this notebook, and indeed under the hood, we've got quite an exciting and interesting selection of hardware: Intel Skylake, DDR4, GTX 970M, NVMe support. So this should present us with a pretty capable machine. Compared to the previous generation, the G752 has been given quite a dramatic facelift, and as such we have new styling and new features. This notebook provides a 17-inch display which is G-Sync ready, that technology there which synchronizes refresh rates to the GPU, alleviating screen tears and providing super smooth and fluid gameplay. So what can you expect the price to be for this unit? Well, this notebook right now is £1,400 in the UK and then $1,700 if you are over in the States. So quite a similar type of cost to the notebooks which we've been looking at recently on the channel. And actually this is the very first time that we've had a look at anything from ASUS, so it should be interesting to see what they bring to the table in today's review. Right guys, well we're going to start by doing an unboxing on our notebook. So here we've got the packaging, as you can see, very nicely designed, illustration of the notebook there in the centre. And actually this box is very thick, as you can see. Almost, I think it's triple reinforced. So this is probably quite a nice thing to have if you're transporting the notebook, as it does have a carry handle as well. If we just flip it over, on the reverse here we've got a specifications label. So we've got the model name, so that's important to know. Also the hardware inside and the serial number. So if you do have any technical problems, then that is the label that you're going to be wanting to refer to. And opening that box up, the first thing that you've got is the notebook itself inside this fabric sleeve. Just move that over to the side. And then we've got these various compartments here. The first, on the far right here, we've got a power cable and the charging unit. So there, we've got the UK adapter there. That is a triple pin. And then we've got this power adapter here, which is ASUS branded, so that's nice. You won't get that mixed up with anything else. Quite slimline as well, and that is 180 watt. And then for the bundled accessories, we get very little actually. Just see here, documentation, we've got the warranty card, we've got the user guide, and then we get some cable ties. So here is G752. Now although the notebook is quite sleek in certain areas, it's still rather chunky and reminiscent of something you would get from the Republic of Gamers. Nevertheless, the styling is definitely on point, and ASUS has done a great job in stepping away from the mundane and creating something quite exclusive. So the size does need to be taken into account, and the dimensions are as follows. G752 is 428mm wide, 334mm in depth, and for the height, 23mm in the shortest area and 43mm in the largest. And G752 weighs around 4 kilos. Now that is pretty heavy, and if you're planning to take this overseas, then it's generally around half of your cabin allocation taken up with most airlines. Now, casting an eye over the lid of G752, we have this brushed hairline design, and that lid is aluminium. So we have two accents there which light up when the notebook is powered on, and that ROG logo there in the centre also lights up too. Now the hinge there is bronze, and it passes through this back section which features a ventilated design for the CPU and the GPU cooling. And ASUS has also dressed this up and applied more lighting with an LED strip. So if we take a look at the left edge, we have an assortment of different options here which include allocation for a Kensington lock, 2 USB 3 ports, a Blu-ray combo drive, and then an SDXC card reader. And jumping over to the other side, we have a headphone output and SPDIF combo jack, a microphone input, audio input, a USB 3.1 Type-C and Thunderbolt 3 combo ports, another 2 USB 3 ports. The first one there offers quick charge for things like a smartphone, a mini display port, a HDMI port, a gigabit LAN port, and then finally the DC power port for use with the charging unit. So all in all, lots of functionality there. The HDMI actually appears to be 1.4, so if you do want 4K output at 60Hz, then you're going to need to use DisplayPort. Okay, now if we flip G752 over, we can have a look at the underside. Now ASUS has given our notebook 4 rubber feet to provide a bit of stability on smooth surfaces, and at the very top there we've got the technical details, which supplies you with such things as the serial number should you need to contact ASUS directly. Now you'll notice there is no detachable battery unit on this notebook, so that 6-cell solution that ASUS has given G752 is fixed inside, and so unfortunately if that battery does need to be changed, then the technical support guys will probably require you to send the notebook back for repair, and with moderate usage you're going to get around 2.5 hours with that battery. Now at this stage in the review we'd usually remove the back panel for a closer look at the internal components, but unfortunately G752 does not allow us to view the CPU, the GPU or that cooling system. And so after you remove all the screws, instead of the bottom panel separating from the motherboard, it's the top panel that detaches, as you can clearly see. ASUS has screwed the board and the components to that lower cover, preventing us from examining the inner workings. However, we are able to get a bit of a sneaky preview of the cooling system after we pull this plastic cover off. And inside there we've got 2 independent heat sinks and cooling fans, specifically for the GPU and the CPU. ASUS has also engineered these fans to direct dust down a tunnel, preventing the buildup of dust on any components. And the heat from these fans is flushed out the rear of the notebook. Now even though we can't get to the CPU or the GPU, we can still perform upgrades to the major components, such as the memory and storage. In the centre there we've got this access panel. All you've got to do is flip that rubber cover, which conceals a hidden screw, detach that screw and the cover simply lifts off. Underneath this plastic cover, as I said, we have access there to the memory and the storage. Now the pre-installed memory is actually on the other side of the board, hidden, but you may just be able to see the modules peeping through. So included is 16 gig of DDR4, which is rated at 2133 MHz. However, there are an additional 2 slots available here on this side for adding in additional DDR4, and you can install up to 64 gig inside G752. Now the primary storage drive comes in the form of an M.2 NVMe SSD, and ASUS has placed a metal lid over the top of the drive which keeps the thermal strip seated over the top of the module. Now since the drive does have that thermal strip, then I'm sure you probably guess what we have here. This is the Samsung PM951, so it's similar to the SM951 but isn't quite as fast. I'm going to do a quick benchmark a bit later on to give you guys a bit of an idea of what you can expect. And then next to that drive there we've got an additional slot just for adding in another NVMe drive. We also have a secondary drive, and that is a 1TB HGST 7200 RPM. This is going to serve as the bulk of the storage that stores things like your games. Now the only other components we haven't spoken about are the CPU and the GPU because they are hidden. So the CPU is the Intel Skylake Core i7-6700HQ, which is a quad-core chip, and that operates at 2.6 GHz and it turbo boosts up to 3.5. And the GPU is the NVIDIA GTX 970M, which has 3 gig of GDDR5. And so we've seen this mobile chip before, and it can deliver mid to high-end performance, and actually you're going to see how capable that is a bit later on when we run some benchmarks. Okay, so if we open up G752, we have a 17.1 inch display which is IPS LED, and it offers up to 1080p resolution. Now we've seen the pitfall that manufacturers have hit when they stick 4K onto a screen like this, and we're really pleased that ASUS has opted for 1080p. Once you start rendering out to bigger resolutions on mobile gaming units like this, it completely cripples the system and kind of prevents the higher detail presets being used in games. So this is definitely a wise move. We also have the added bonus of that display using G-Sync, the technology there which synchronizes the refresh rate to the GPU and it tackles screen tearing, basically giving you smooth, fluid gameplay. And located at the top of that screen we have a 720p webcam and a corresponding microphone. Both of those come in handy if you do use Skype or you want to do some streaming. Now the speakers are revealed once that lid is opened up. They sit just in front of the hinge. Those speakers work together with the subwoofer underneath and ASUS Sonic Master technology. And the audio quality is actually really good. Bundled on that notebook is Sonic Studio 2, which has all sorts of different options for tweaking the audio features, including the option to customize broadcasting settings. Now, since we have that lid open, we have an overview of the keyboard, which is a pretty big deal on the G752. So the keyboard follows a QWERTY design with some slight modifications. Firstly, we've got the row of macro keys along the top there, and you can assign macros to those specific keys. And the first one there is actually going to launch XSplit Gamecaster, which you get an unlimited license of. You also have that ROG key there, which launches the Game Center, and in there you can customize profiles and view critical information. The keyboard has highlighted WASD keys, and the arrow keys are actually slightly lower than the keyboard to stand out a bit better. Now the keys are LED backlights, and the brightness there can be adjusted, and the LEDs can actually be switched off altogether. Now the other thing to mention is that the keyboard has anti-ghosting, so that up to 30 keys can be pressed all at once, simultaneously, without any lag or issues. Around the keyboard we have this smooth material which has a nice soft touch, and below this we have the touchpad, which is actually quite large compared to other notebooks, and we're pleased to see that ASUS there has used independent left and right clickers rather than incorporating them into the actual touchpad. Okay, so we've taken a detailed look at G752, and now it's about time that we've performed a few benchmarks to see how capable this machine really is. So we're going to do a boot into Windows 10, which our notebook comes bundled with. We're going to see the read and write performance, what it's like on that NVMe drive. Then we're going to have a look at a few game benchmarks while monitoring the CPU and the GPU temperatures. And then we're going to do a sound demo to demonstrate how noisy the notebook is while we're in game. Okay, so first of all, let's boot our notebook and see how quick we get into Windows 10 from a cold boot. And now that we're into Windows, let's run Crystal Disk Mark for a look at the read and write performance of that primary SSD. So as you can see there, the PM951 is quite a bit behind what you get from an SM951, and really for the cost difference we'd have preferred to have that faster SM951. Right guys, well it's now time to perform our game benchmarks, and we're going to be testing out Dirt Rally, Tomb Raider, Star Wars Battlefront and The Witcher 3. And we're going to monitor the temperatures, and then at the end there, I'm going to show you what the results are like, and then do a quick sound demo while we are in game. Right guys, well we've still got The Witcher 3 open, and we are going to get the microphone off and get it as close to the notebook as possible, just to give you guys a bit of an idea of how noisy it is when we've got a game running. Okay, and here are the temperatures which have been recorded while we've been running those games. So we've kind of maxed out at 73 on the GPU, and then for the CPU, 84, 86, 81 and 79. Okay, well that is the new ASUS G752. So although it is quite a weighty, a chunky type of notebook, the general look and the styling, the build quality, the construction of this particular notebook is impressive. Now, I really like what they've actually done with the keyboard area. The layout is great, the look, the feel of it, and also the hotkeys. And of course, we also have the LED backlighting and the anti-ghosting, those features there, which are always handy to have. So at the foundation of this notebook, we have the Intel Core i7-6700HQ processor. We have the 16GB of DDR4, GTX 970M, and the M.2 NVMe drive. So having such components is going to mean that you're going to get some fantastic performance. You know, whether you're using this notebook for day-to-day tasks or engaging in some hardcore gaming sessions. Now, I mentioned the screen display earlier, and I'll say it again. It's really good that ASUS has not been tempted to go down the 3 and 4K kind of route, and they've stuck with 1080p. It means that games are not crippled, you know, with low frame rates, and you can kind of ramp up that detail level to your heart's content. Ultra high resolutions are really reserved for the super high-end kind of hardware, and mobile gaming isn't quite ready yet. And besides, 1080p is more than enough pixels for a 17-inch display. And rightly so. Instead of kitting this notebook out with 3 and 4K, ASUS has equipped it with G-Sync instead, which is far more beneficial. So guys, we've ran some benchmarks in this video, but in the full review, links are on the screen and in the description over there. There are some more benchmarks if you're wanting a greater overview of the performance. So thanks for watching today, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up. Please continue to support the channel by subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which is every single Friday.